Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel, and I want you to take a look at this little multi-effects board right here. And when I first got this, they sent this to me, and I took it out of the box and I looked at it and I thought, okay, well, it's a small multi-effects board, pretty standard. It's probably really good, but there's nothing really that special about it. But here's the thing. After sitting down with it, going through the features and actually using it, now, while what I said is true, I think this particular little multi-effects board is the perfect first multi-effects board, and it's especially good for a beginner guitarist who's new to these kind of effects. And when I say beginner, I'm not just talking about because it's an affordably priced unit, although that is a nice feature of it. It's actually the way everything is put together and the particular features it has. It has a few features which I think is really just, puts it above and beyond a lot of the other stuff in the similar price range. Okay, so first let me just tell you about the features, what this thing actually does. So this is a multi-effects unit. It's an amp modeler. It also has a whole bunch of different effects, classic, traditional effects. It also has an entire speaker cabinet emulation section, and then it's got a tuner and a looper and a drum machine. You can use it as an audio interface, and it has a built-in expression pedal, which I really like because for some reason some of the much more expensive effects units don't have an expression pedal. You have to hook one up separately. And so the pedal you can use as a volume pedal. You also have some wah effects, standard stuff like that. And I want to mention, when I say amp modeler and speaker cabinet modeler, this is the type of unit where all of the amplifiers, the amplifier types in this thing, it's all based off of traditional classic amplifiers. It's all trying to reproduce the sound of other amplifiers. So it's not like a Black Star unit or something like that, where it's just a digital amp that's kind of creating their own sound. The goal with this is to be able to replicate a lot of the sounds of the classic amplifiers. Now, if we look on the back here, pretty straightforward: input, output, auxiliary in if you want to run in like external backing tracks or something. You've got a headphone out jack, a USB port, which lets you plug it into a computer or even a phone, which I'll tell you about later on. And then the DC 9 volt, a standard DC power input right there. But look on the back here. What's this right there? A little compartment you can open. One of the coolest features of this thing is that you can run the whole thing off of batteries, and it's not some weird, lithium-ion battery pack or anything like that. It just takes 6 totally standard AA batteries. And look at this. You have this thing here, and just like a regular pedal, when you plug it in, it turns on. And look at that. That's the only thing I have plugged in because I have the batteries in here. Now, with the exception of the fact that it's battery powered, all the other features I was talking about, that is all pretty standard stuff. That's a lot of, the features that we kind of expect on a modern multi-effects board today. And yeah, it's sold for a really affordable price. It's going for around $120 depending on where you get it. And also I should mention, you can run it off batteries, but of course it does include a regular DC power supply, so you don't have to use the batteries. But why do I say this is such a good unit for a beginner? So the first thing, aside from the price, is that this is a very, very easy to use unit. And it actually can get pretty complicated because there's an editing software you can use to edit the patches and everything, but you don't have to use that right out of the gate. You don't have to Bluetooth connect your phone to it or anything like that that shows up on a lot of these more modern units. But you can just open this up, get it out of the box, plug it in, or put some batteries in it, your choice. And it's got some great presets, and you can get up and running on this thing in like 10 seconds. It's really, really easy to use. It just has a few controls. The controls themselves are pretty intuitive. So not only is it easy to use out of the box, but it kind of eases you in to using multi-effects boards like this. And the way all of these controls work is going to translate really well when you get into more complicated multi-effects boards. So it's a good gateway drug for multi-effects boards. That is the number one reason I like it. Now, the number two thing is the fact that you have a headphone jack and it's battery powered. So this thing, if you want it to be, it is totally, totally portable. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, you can take a USB cable, it's a USB-C, you go out of this plug right here, you can plug this into your phone. In some cases, you'll need an OTG on-the-go adapter, but you plug this from the pedal board into your phone. You can record on your phone. The other thing is you can use this if you're going to be live streaming through your phone. So you can use this as your audio interface for your phone for your live streaming. And that's a really cool feature. And again, it's something you can kind of ease into. You can just start getting used to it, building your patches, figuring out the presets, all that stuff. And then as you get more comfortable using this thing, you can go into the software editing, you can connect it to your phone, all of this stuff. And you just get more and more out of it as time goes on, the deeper you get into it. And I mentioned the headphone jack, right? So you run it off of batteries, you plug in your guitar, you could even plug in a wireless to the input, and then you hook up your headphones to it. Then you can take it anywhere. You can take your electric guitar, you can take this and have all of your patches, and that's like your sound, your patches. Then you can take it anywhere for silent practicing. I really, really like that. So it's not only a great entry into pedal boards, but it's a great practicing tool as well. When you combine that with the tuner and the drum patterns that can serve as a metronome, you can get so much out of this one little unit here. Now let's go ahead and get into the sound demo here, and you might have noticed I'm using one of my Firefly Les Paul style guitars for the demo. So the guitar is like $200. This thing here is like $120, maybe $150. So the whole setup that you're hearing is going to be under $400. Effects, guitar, everything. Now there's one technical thing I want to mention here before we get into the demo, and that is that you can adjust the output of this unit depending on how you have it hooked up. By that I mean if you're running it through the headphones or out of the headphone jack into an audio interface, which is what I'm doing for the demo, or you can have this plugged into an amplifier, but is it in the front of the amplifier, like in a combo amp or in front of a head, or is it in the effects return? There's a bunch of different ways that you can have it hooked up, and depending on how you have it hooked up, you have this global output section in here, and you tweak that to kind of get the best possible sound for the given situation. And as an example, if you plug it in to where you're going into the front of an amplifier or into the effects return of an amplifier, but then you're using your own speaker, like in real life, it will disable or at least significantly change the speaker emulation section. So you don't have like double speaker emulation and then a real speaker in real life, which can end up sounding really muffled and bad. So just keep that in mind. Depending on how you have this thing hooked up, you might want to go into that section and adjust it, and it can really drastically alter the sound in a really good way. But anyway, let's go ahead. I'll plug this thing back in and we'll listen to how it sounds. But real quick, guys, if you enjoy videos like this, checking out cool new guitar gear, and of course staying up on all the latest guitar news in the guitar universe. How many times can I say guitar here? But if you like all that stuff and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing right now. Okay, let's plug this in again and listen to some more sounds that we can get out of this unit. Okay guys, so that was just a small sample of some of the sounds that we can get out of this unit. And to be clear, the sound you're hearing is like the direct recording sound. So it's using the speaker emulation and all that stuff. So it's kind of like the sound you would hear if you were playing and then listening to it through headphones. But of course, with the output here, you can run this into the front of an amplifier or into the effects return, just depending on how you want to use it. You can even run this from the output into like a direct in on a PA, that kind of stuff. A lot of different options. And when you think about it, with the looper and the patch editing, the fact that it's an amplifier modeler, you've got a lot of different amps to choose from. It's got all the classic effects. It's got stereo effects, which sound really nice, especially through the headphones. And it has the whole IR and speaker cabinet emulation section. This pretty much has all of the basic features that a more advanced, much more expensive effects unit would have, but everything is just simplified here. Okay guys, so far I've been just giving a glowing report about this thing, but there is one thing that I don't like about it, and I want to warn you guys about this. It's not a total deal breaker, but it's something that I find a little annoying, and I just want to make sure you guys know about it. You're prepared when you get it. And the issue has to do with the patches. You know, the pre-programmed patches, the sounds that it has in here. And the issue is the volume level of each patch varies like a huge amount. And it's not always what you'd expect, where like clean tones are really quiet and the distortion is really loud. Sometimes it's the opposite. So just as an example, you'll have a nice clean sound with like a shimmer reverb or something, some really cool sound, and you'll be playing, and then you'll go to the next patch and it'll be so loud that it'll be like totally clipping if you're recording, or if you're listening to it in person, it's way too loud and then you have to turn your amp down. And it's not just a small difference, but it's such a big difference that the volume levels of the patches are really unusable the way they are, because you'll get one that's a good volume level and the next one might be really, really quiet or really, really loud to where you have to go in and then adjust it. Now, you might be thinking, well, hey, there's an expression pedal here, and most of the time this is set up as a volume pedal. So you can just simply roll off the volume pedal a little bit. But the fact that you have to do that every time you change a patch is kind of annoying. And what if you're not using the volume pedal? What if you have this set up as a wah pedal and you can't make that adjustment? And there's no little adjustment on the back or even one of these knobs which can quickly adjust the volume level. You have to go in and edit the patch and adjust the volume level like on the amp model that you're using in the patch. You have to go in and do that in order to bring down or bring up the individual volume level of each patch. So I'm not sure why it is like that. It must have been something about the way they initially programmed the patches. But you know, maybe they were programmed on a computer through the editing software and they didn't actually program them like sitting down with the unit, listening to it in person or something. But like I said, it's not a deal breaker, but it's just annoying. So other than that, I really love this unit. That is really the only downside that I can find with this thing. It's just a gateway into more expensive, more complicated units, and that's not to say that this is bad. It's just simpler. It's just everything is kind of simplified on this. And I love the fact that it is battery powered. That makes it totally portable. Okay guys, I'm gonna have links for everything I was talking about in the video down in the video description below. I'll have a link for this unit, plus the Firefly guitar I was using for the demo, and everything else I was talking about, social media, all that stuff. Guys, thanks a ton for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon.